We've got a new batch of economic data this week that led to a bit of a sell-off in the traditional markets. However, the crypto markets are hanging tough, which is a little bit surprising. We're going to get into that today. I want to get Kevin's take on how he feels about the state of everything. Before we get going, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing we say today is financial advice. Please do your own research. We're just a couple of guys who love talking about the markets, paying attention to this stuff, nerding out a little bit. So take everything we say with a grain of salt and do your own research before making any buys and sells. Kev, we got some PPI data yesterday. It was, the headline number looked good. Some of the other numbers, we're still seeing increases in, cost of food production. So that's not too surprising. It's not great. We also saw a very low level of jobless claims. So while the increase in interest rates seem to be helping on the inflation side, they're not really doing a whole lot on the job side, which we know is an important part of the Fed's mission, is getting inflation down, trying to get the unemployment rate up to cool off the labor market. So how do you see all this playing out? Like, what are your current thoughts on, where we're going with about a week and almost just under 2 weeks until the next Fed meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the headlines paint a picture that the public would like to see. Obviously, inflation's going down, unemployment isn't super high, which people might not necessarily equate with the importance of bringing inflation down. You need unemployment to technically go up. I think those are all things that were easy to celebrate. However, like you said, a lot of the food production, stuff like that, jobs being added, that's stuff that the Fed is more concerned with, that is going to be more important on the actual rate hike itself. The Fed's only goal right now is to stop inflation, and a lot of people are losing faith in the Fed. They say that a lot of the macro is already priced in. I just wouldn't be betting against the Fed right now. This just seems kind of foolish, and I think that they will do anything they can in order to bring inflation down. But if they see retail or anyone just trying to get ahead of themselves, they're gonna put that to a halt. So that's what I think the Fed might be doing, in these next 2 weeks, looking at all the data, seeing how the markets are reacting. But right now, it just feels like a boiling point. I mean, that's what I think it is.
Yeah, we've seen some politicians say that the Fed needs to stop raising rates because they're going to send us into a recession. I don't really trust any of those politicians. With I trust them as far as I can throw them, which I'm a pretty strong guy. I might throw them a little far, but nothing too significant. But I don't trust what a lot of these people have to say when it comes to economic policy. I mean, I'm no expert in it, but it just doesn't make sense to stop raising when we are so far away from the target. We're 3.5 times over where the target inflation number is. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yep. I did pull it up. CME Group is at a 96% chance of a 25 basis point hike at the February meeting. So that feels pretty locked in from there. For the March meeting, they're at about 75% of another 25 basis point, 22% chance of no raise at all. So I think it's going to be interesting. Like, we see the way the calendar is laid out, we have 3 Fed meetings in the first 5 months of the year. So not a ton right there. And then we have 5 in the final 7 months of the year. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we continue to raise rates up until the May meeting. Potentially in June, they hit the pause on increasing rates. And it may not be, they may go like 3 meetings. So June, July, September. And it may not be until November 1st that they potentially start lowering the rates. So I think we're in for a long road here. We also saw some new data this morning saying that we hit another all-time high in U.S. consumer debt. Let's give it a round of applause. We'd love to see it. We're number one. It just keeps on going up.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that you and me have been talking about since we started doing this show. Like, that's one of our main concerns. But how bad is that going to get, though, if unemployment starts to rise? That's what, these are things that it could be terrible. This could destroy markets.
Yeah, and that number is going to, like, with interest rates going up, that number is going to keep, like, the interest rate on credit cards is going to go up. It's not going to go down anytime soon. Maybe, like I said, I think maybe not till November at the earliest. And if the Fed does its job and the labor market tightens, there's a reason that all of these banks put out projections that they're going to see more defaults this year than they have in past years. So I think there's a lot to be concerned about right there. One of the biggest flexes I think you can have as an American at this point is not carrying a monthly credit card balance. And as well, I think I have, my wife and I have two of the bigger flexes out there. We don't carry a monthly credit card balance, and we have a mortgage rate under 3%. Like, I think that's elite tier right there. So we're feeling very lucky at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a good setup. That's a good double fist definitely to have as an American right now. But yeah, it's obviously I'm not surprised by just the debt going up. You see people complaining about eggs. Like, that's on Twitter every day. All they're talking about is eggs.
Egg prices, egg futures.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I mean, that's just one product. Imagine when it's several others. And obviously, I mean, this is news. We're going through an extreme drought right now in the West for the United States too. So production is just gonna obviously cause a lot of the prices to go up too. So not necessarily the best of times. Feels like, end of the world, but we're still getting through it. Mondays and Thursdays, just talking about what we're doing, what we see. So it's just something to keep an eye on.
Yep, for sure. What else do we have going on the macro front before we dive into some of the charts? We got more layoffs at Microsoft, so we're going to continue to see tech layoffs.
Amazon,
Amazon. A lot of these companies, when they lay people off, unfortunately, like, it does tend to positively impact their stock, because we know that the liability, their outgoing costs are going down, right. which is not ideal. But I think that there's, even with this little bit of a rally in the crypto market, we saw a pullback yesterday. We saw all sorts of, anytime you see a big red candle, I'm not a day trader, but anytime you see a big red candle down because the DOJ is making an announcement, just like wait till that candle simmers for a second and just buy that dip real quick, because like it is always overblown. Like, I know that we're bearish right now, but I saw DOJ making an announcement, and I saw this huge sell off of ETH down from like 1,600 to 1,500. I'm like, that is a buying opportunity right there. Like, even if you want to do a quick swing trade, like, that is just, these are always overblown. And of course, it was a nothing burger. Like, the head of some Russian crypto exchange I'd never heard of was taken into custody. I'm like, that's what you guys all panicked about? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that too. And obviously, I'm so risk adverse. I just moved all my money off the exchanges. I was like, you know what? If something bad does happen for the 1% of the 99 times that it's usually nothing, I'm not going to be caught with my pants down. I'm not going to let that happen ever again. So yeah, it was literally nothing. What was the exchange? FLOLiO or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Never heard of it. But again, it's just wild. At least the SEC came down on Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX today too. So
yeah,
finally after
and then we also have Genesis. It sounds like Genesis is going to be declaring bankruptcy in the coming days.
See, that's the thing that's scary. Like, a lot of people are saying all this stuff is priced in. FTX, like, fallout still is playing out. Like, months into bankruptcy, obviously, who knows what comes of the SEC even probing into like Gemini too. You know what I mean? Obviously,
it was like early November that all the FTX stuff happened, so it hasn't even been a full 3 months since then.
Yeah, and then obviously, I still think there's going to be tons of bankruptcies between now and, I don't know, bull market. But it's just it's insane how people are still bullish, and there's still a lot of bad stuff on the way for even just crypto itself.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into some of the charts then. We'll begin with our trusty DXY.
Yeah. So let's see, DXY, we are pulling up.
I also saw that you made a note here regarding the VIX and how it has been, pretty flat around, the 20 level here for a while now.
Yeah, nothing too crazy when I was talking about those. I just wanted to talk about how the markets are reacting in general compared to crypto markets. Like, it's kind of insane what we're seeing. But let me just pull this up. Okay, there it is. Is it popping up on your side?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. Sweet. There it is. Yeah. So let's just take a look at the dollar because obviously people are really expecting like the Fed to slow rate hikes. And that might be a huge reason why the dollar is dropping so much right around here. What was that? January 12th. Uh, as we can see, it's kind of been moving sideways for the past few days. And there's this blue line here, which is the one that we talked about in the last episode. That was just historical support. You know, that line's been held multiple times, 2018, 2020, 1981, stuff like that, 2000, 2002. So that line has been support and resistance, and it's extremely strong. And we just look at these stochastic RSIs, completely oversold on a daily. Go to the weekly, oversold. I don't remember if I looked at the monthly last time. Monthly is coming down. Looks like we're going to close this month into the oversold. And we're at this key level of support. I'm sorry, maybe I'm crazy, but I would not be counting the dollar out right here, especially if we're expecting, rates to continue. Risk assets are going to get hit. I mean, this just seems like this is what's going to hold for the dollar for one last rally. And then maybe we start moving into a bull market or just that transition period where the dollar cools off and the risk assets kind of trade sideways for a bit before we push up. But right now, I don't know. Dollar to me seems strong. It's holding strong amid all this weird, confusion in the markets. People don't really know if we're in a bull market or if this is a rally or what's going on. But yeah, dollar again, and we're looking at this. It's back in this range. It's breaking out maybe a little bit, or maybe just pull that down further. No, it's still in this parallel channel. Again, this is a bull flag, so this pole coming down, trading sideways. It broke out and then broke back in. I'd anticipate this to break back out, but again, it's going to be a matter of time. Probably won't see too much of the dollar change until after the FOMC, the Fed speaks. So that's what I'm seeing with the dollar. Nothing too crazy. We're just holding that key level support, and unless something crazy happens where bear market's over, I think that we're just going to trade sideways along this line.
Okay, interesting.
And then I just want to show going too crazy into this. This is the Dow. Again, we're seeing it's like 1,200 points. Let's see from here, the height to where it currently is. It's about 1,223 points. It's dropped over the past 3 days. So that's interesting to see. And then the past 2 days for the NASDAQ. NASDAQ was holding up a little bit better on Tuesday when the market opened. We're down about 428, so about 3.67%. And then S&P over the past 3 days, we're down about 115 points, so 2.87%. This is just really interesting to me because we are seeing red here. I mean, we saw a little bit of red yesterday from the crypto market, but we kind of knew why. That was the DOJ announcement. But the stock market, for some reason, doesn't seem to be as strong or too much sentiment, the same sentiment that we're seeing in the crypto market. Like when I look at this, the Dow, what I'm seeing here is a lower high. Like we came up, came down, bounced off the EMAs, and we put in a lower high. And it's also a double top scenario. If we look over here to August, that's a pure, let me just put a right there, draw a horizontal line. We can see hit, rejection. I don't know. That's not bullish to me. That's just something I noticed. And the fact that we're seeing the sentiment in the market where people are selling off, we're down 1,000 points, 1,200 points in the Dow. It's completely overbought if we look at the weekly. Like we're coming right out of the overbought, it's coming down. So there's definitely some momentum to the downside. If we get some bad news, this could be pretty bloody. Ding dong.
It's a good timing on that one.
Yeah. So you know what that is? That's the bear market saying we're coming back. We want more blood.
That is the sound of our fate right there.
Exactly. That's the Grim Reaper coming for the rest of.
What was it from the Matrix? That is the sound of inevitability.
Yeah, I think so.
Along those lines.
Something. Maybe Morpheus will come down and let it have some insight on the markets. But yeah, that was one thing I'm seeing. I'm not necessarily bullish on any of these. Like we're still pretty going towards the overbought for the NASDAQ. What is the other one? S&P, it's under 39 now. We're probably around the same time. We're seeing that the volumes are decreasing as we're coming down. Not necessarily the most bullish setup for those, but again, I'm just seeing this on the traditional markets. Whereas if we were to jump into Bitcoin, which I'm going to do right now, and despite all this noise, it's pretty green today. We're seeing a lot of people buy back in from where the sell-off was yesterday. Came up, we're up about $350. So there is a difference between the two markets. I'm seeing a huge amount of optimism and bullishness in the crypto markets, whereas people are actually taking profits because we're hitting resistance when I look at the traditional markets. But if we're just going to get into Bitcoin right now on the shorter time frames for the daily and stuff like that, we shot up pretty high, and there's this level of support right here, resistance at 21,792. We can see we wicked off it here, came up, hit it here, bounced up, and then we went right through it. So this is holding pretty strong as a support resistance line, and we are so close to hitting it, and the price is going up right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we have one more short squeeze because it also is above the, what is that, the 50? No, this is a 200 EMA on the daily. It's still above that, so I would anticipate us to just retest this one more time, and that would just be a huge liquidity grab. I think it also just marries up well because a lot of people were extremely long, like right here. They thought that the bull market is back. And usually when you're long, there's liquidation levels below. Obviously, short positions are going to be used to draw that price down. They brought the price down to like, what was it, 2006 or 20,006. And from there, people are going to start going short. Why not liquidate them, then go long? And then people are going to start going long around that 21.7, 21.8. I think they're going to get liquidated all the way down. There's just tons of liquidity in the market, just building up based off people betting whether the price is going to go up or down, especially on the long term. And I think those positions are all going to get just massively slaughtered.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the best time to go long here. I don't play around with shorting the market because I'm just not. That's not my skill set. But I'm just fuck, man. How's that death cross looking there?
Yeah. I wanted to pull it up. So I just wanted to pull up a few things on this weekly. So obviously I talked about the FTX collapse, right? We saw how much volume was coming in right here. And that's a massive candle, right? That's a huge red candle. And we go here and we have a small little green candle that pushed the price up almost to equal to what that volume was here. So the price action to volume. But when we look down here, the volume's been decreasing other than this one pump. That's bearish divergence. Again, I said that in the last show, but I really want to point out how important that is because that means that the only thing that propped this price up is a little bit of volume and the DXY. That's the only reason why the price pushed up that much. So it's not necessarily people are, you're seeing the people come into the markets. We're just seeing the price naturally go up because the dollar is weakening, or it was on that day. So we're seeing that, and we're also seeing
real quick.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Genesis thing. Mm-hmm. We know that they're owned by Digital Currency Group, who runs Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. If these bankruptcy, I'm not. Please, for the love of God, if you're watching this, like I know nothing about bankruptcies. I'm just curious. I'd love to talk to someone who does. But like, what are the possibilities of this? Impacting Grayscale, and is there like separation there that would allow them to not sell all their Bitcoin to cover the their debt to creditors? Like, because that could be a black swan event right there. Like, if they have to unload their Bitcoin to cover their debts, like, fuck, man, watch out below. Like, that could be real ugly.
Who's to say that they haven't already, and they distributed during this pump, that they know that they're going to be filing for bankruptcy, and they just took advantage of it prior to this.
That's
and now
true.
All of retail is holding their bags.
I got to imagine, though, that like the amount that they have so much Bitcoin, and it's concerning. But I have to imagine that there are people much smarter than me who have been kind of keeping an eye on this. I don't know if their wallets are publicly known. Welcome, Ace. Better late than never. I don't know if their wallets are publicly known, but if they are, I have to imagine people are watching them to see when they're making moves. And like, God, what if they're, because we know that like Michael Saylor and what's the name of his company?
MicroStrategy.
They have Yeah, MicroStrategy. They have a liquidation price as well. Like this could be. I've heard people say like we might see $7,000-8,000 Bitcoin again. Like, what if those are the final dominoes right there? Like Grayscale has to sell off. That that hits Sailor's liquidation level. He has to sell off. Like, holy shit. This is all hypothetical. Please, no one make any. I'm just talking out loud here. Like, do not make any sort of decisions based off of my ramblings at this point.
So what you're saying is pretty much exactly how I feel in the markets. Like, who's holding a lot of the Bitcoin right now, and who's going to bring the price down? Obviously, retail, right? So that copper, man.
Ace and his copper wire.
This man is going to
if the world trades on copper in the future, Ace is going to be king.
This dude is going to dump all the copper in the world on the markets. Not financial advice, but yeah. Anyways, it's like what you're saying is pretty much how I think every day. I'm like, all right, we're not seeing big money come into the space, right? We're seeing retail pretty much buy. Obviously, the price is going up more, so it's big money sitting on the sidelines. But I also want to point out something on this chart because you made a really good point. How a lot of people are talking about 7, 8K Bitcoin, 10K Bitcoin, and people are like, for it to go down that much, it has to drop from current levels, more than 50%, right? But if we look at the last bear market, right around towards the end, let me see if I can find it. It was like November, because I always talk about this. This is like historical data. When we look back here, the price was, let's say, 6,449. All right, so let's grab that, and let's go down to what would be necessarily the bottom. Hello, 50%, 3,000. What is that? 3,222. So I'm just saying, 50% is not off the table. Like that could just happen. That was only in 1 month. We went from 6,400 to 3,200. So if we're just using ratios, if we're doing, retracements or anything like that, not off the table. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't need to get cocky at all, but for people who are being bullish, but it could happen, man.
Yes, it could, and that's definitely concerning. But that hitting 10K would be rough.
Opportunity of a lifetime for a lot of people, though.
Yeah, that would be. Have I told you my poker story about Bitcoin?
No.
So back like years ago, I used to play online poker professionally, but I was playing on an offshore site, and I was cashing a little bit of money out, and they offered to pay, it was like you had to get paid in Bitcoin. So I was cashing out like $800, and they paid me out in Bitcoin, and I was like, "What the fuck's this?" So I just cashed in that one Bitcoin for $800. So I was like, "God damn it!"
Oh my goodness, man!
It wasn't like a Bitcoin pizza kind of story, but still, like having one Bitcoin and like trading it in for cashing out for $800 because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing will always haunt me.
Well, it's like I never had a fake ID, but there was kids who would sell Bitcoin back in like 2012 to people in China who would make them fake IDs. Can you imagine just making fake IDs and people are just paying you like, 10 Bitcoin here, 10 Bitcoin there, and next thing you know, you got like 200,000 Bitcoin just sitting in the bank, and you're just
like selling a bag of weed for a couple Bitcoin. Like, holy God,
insane.
How many drug dealers are out there like in prison still who had a whole bunch of Bitcoin but will never be able to access it, like from their slinging days?
Oh, I don't know. It's I hope so.
Anyway, let's get this back. Let's get this back on the track. Let's get this back on the track here.
All right. Yeah. So that 50% retracement thing, that's totally on the table for me. It's just, again, it's a matter of time. It's not greed if you're being patient and you're looking at the levels, you're looking at historical data. Obviously, historical data plays out only, it works out until it doesn't. People are talking about the Bitcoin halving, like everything's priced in. Still got 400 and something days until then. So price could go any way it wants between now and then. Just my opinion. But so that's all I got on Bitcoin. I don't have much to say about any other coin or anything like that. I think I just kind of wanted to talk.
Yeah, that's all good.
Macro and what to keep in mind. Like, there's definitely stuff in the world that's going on right now. Like, we're seeing a lot of bad stuff coming out of Japan recently. Just tons of bad data, and they're the world's like third largest economy. They see massive unemployment. They're seeing some CPI data coming out Friday. It just something to keep an eye on. Obviously, we're still seeing a war that's going on between Russia and Ukraine. Anything could escalate, which could affect oil, which is also doing a pretty good job of bringing inflation down. Fairly decent oil levels, and yeah, it's really strange. The market just doesn't seem really what knows what it wants to do. That's why I said it's kind of like a boiling point right now. Everything is just building up to what should be one like pressure valve release, but that could go in either direction. It could be massively to the upside or massively to the downside. I lean more to the downside because when the market doesn't know what it's doing, I consider that a continuation pattern, and the trend is your friend until it isn't. So I think the trend is still down. There's tons of stuff that we still have to see play out, and being patient and not FOMOing in or making horrible decisions based off what you see on Twitter is probably a good mindset to have.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, we have in the upcoming days, tomorrow we have a few members of the Fed who are going to be talking at different times, so could get a little peek into what their thought process is. That usually tends to move the markets a bit. Next week, we have some reports later in the week around the PCE comes out, which I know is the Fed's preferred indicator for inflation. So that's going to be a really interesting one on Friday. We have some more data around goods and what the demand is from the consumers at this point. We know the consumers are getting weaker with all this debt, and I think it's going to continue to get to that point, and the dominoes will fall as it relates to housing. I know there's still that hasn't really the housing market crash that experts are expecting hasn't happened yet, and it's still probably a little ways off. But yeah, there's like this calm right now before the eventual the real storm of capitulation happens. Like, it isn't. Yeah, I agree with Ace right here. I think a lot of people have, last year was like a really shitty year for the market and, stock and crypto, and everyone's like, okay, it's a new year. We're going to turn things around. They're hearing the guys from Bankless. They're hearing like Crypto FLOLiO and some of these other like high profile crypto YouTubers and influencers say that, oh, it's back. We're going to see Bitcoin run to 30K, and this is the start of a new cycle. This is, we're seeing something play out on a global level that the crypto market has never experienced before. Like, crypto market has never, was not really a thing in 2008. It wasn't a thing back in 2001. So we don't know what's going to happen, and
right.
Time of uncertainty, like, batten down the hatches. Keep only have in the market what you're comfortable riding down to low prices. Otherwise, have cash on hand if you got that long time horizon, so you can buy some of these these really bad days, like the days when you go online and everyone, if you go on CNBC and it's just big red numbers everywhere. You go on Twitter and everyone's saying it's the end. Jim Cramer's calling for the end of the crypto market. That's when you buy. So, keep that in mind. Is like, I'm not saying you should sell stuff, but if you're holding right now, like I am, I'm prepared to ride some of this stuff down. Like, my family is not going to miss out on paying our mortgage because of what I have in the crypto market.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way to put it. I mean, even outside of just like crypto too, like, prepare, just have everything in your life right now is just be open to it potentially changing. I mean, obviously macroeconomic outlook is not great. Could be, could be better, but unemployment could hit fast. I mean, you could lose your job instantly. So obviously you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself on that end too, making sure that you got enough money to pay for food, bills, family. That stuff's important. Arguably it's more important than buying Dogecoin at a penny. You know what I mean?
Have cigarettes, bullets, and cans of beans, and you're all set. That's how you're gonna make it through.
You'll last forever.
And Twinkies, those will survive anything.
Exactly.
All right, I think that is going to do it for today. Kevin and I are going to be back on Monday at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Going to be looking at the week ahead, kind of seeing how the market plays out tomorrow, over the crypto market over the weekend. Need to have sources of passive income, 100%. I agree with that. Have have your hustles going right now. Like, be setting cash aside to prosper on the, we'll get to a bull market event again, but Lord knows when that's going to be. So just be prepared. We'll be back on Monday. Please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. If you find our videos to be educational, entertaining, a little bit of both, or if you just think that we're idiots and you want people to see how stupid we are, that's okay. We'll take the views and engagement. Send them our way. So for Kevin, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you next time.
Stay safe, everyone.